So a lot of you guys who have been on my channel before know I love Studio the Artisan, and for those who don't know, Studio the Artisan is a raw denim brand that is a part of the Osaka 5 of Japanese raw selvage denim. And for those who don't know what the Osaka 5 is, essentially they are a group of 5 denim brands that basically helped popularize the entire Japanese denim movement. Without them, I do not think that raw selvage denim would be as popular as it is today. And the first brand that came out of the Osaka 5 that basically started this whole kind of thing is Studio the Artisan. Now, I love Studio the Artisan because what they do is, instead of making and focusing on American style reproduction pieces, they kind of take bits and pieces of American vintage style garments and American style tradition, and they also blend it together with Eastern Asian styles, European styles, to make something really interesting, unique, and individual. And that's what I love about them. And recently, Studio the Artisan dropped their 45th anniversary collection, which is a curated package of raw selvage denim jackets as well as raw selvage denim jeans in some really interesting fabrics. Now, they have super slubby fabrics, they have gorgeous jeans, they have everything a denim lover would appreciate in this package. But for me, I knew as soon as I saw this one particular jacket, I had to cop it. I mean, it literally was everything I love in denim, and also takes one of my favorite things in Japanese culture and marries those together. And the denim jacket in question is the Studio the Artisan 45th anniversary Cherry Blossom Isa Natural Indigo Type 2 raw denim jacket. Now, that was a mouthful, but this denim jacket in specific is an incredible piece that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. It has such an interesting dye job on it, and I can't wait to tell you guys all about it and showcase all of the details that makes this denim jacket so great. So here I have the denim jacket in question, and my god, the color itself is gorgeous. It also comes with the limited edition patch that you're only going to get on this denim jacket, and these denim jackets are not going to be around forever. This is a limited edition garment, which kind of adds to the reason why I bought it. Not just because I felt I needed a Type 2 jacket, this is the first Type 2 jacket that I've ever owned, but also because of the meaning behind the Isa and the meaning behind the cherry blossom dye that is alluded to in the name of this jacket. So what I will tell you about this jacket before we get into the details is it is dyed with a 100% natural indigo warp, which gives it this super bright streaky color, and it is a skein dye. And for those who don't know what a skein dye is essentially it's synonymous with hand dyeing cotton, where you take the skeins of the yarns piece by piece and you dye them individually, which eventually is going to give an inconsistency in the color of the indigo, but it makes for something gorgeous, which is why in the fabric you see all of these streaky colors. But this jacket doesn't just get its color from the natural indigo. What you will also notice is that the weft itself has a little bit of like a pinkish or reddish tone, and what that comes from is actually a cherry blossom dye. Now, for those who don't know, cherry blossoms are one of my favorite plants, probably my favorite plant or foliage or whatever you want to call it, anything botanical. It is my favorite plant in the world, and I actually took my first trip to Japan during cherry blossom season because I wanted to see them, and it was one of the most beautiful things, if not the most beautiful thing that I had ever seen in the world in terms of landscape, in terms of nature. And it actually inspired me to get the cherry blossom tattoo that I have on my forearm in Japan. So it was only fitting that after I visited Japan and I saw that they had released this garment, I knew I had to cop because it just means everything to me, and it also solidifies kind of an era in my life. So essentially, the term kusakizome or sakura dyeing is taking the bark of cherry blossom trees and turning it into a dye that provides this gorgeous pinkish reddish tone. And when this is put together with the natural indigo, you get an indigo color that you would otherwise never see if you had never taken this warp and weft and put it together. And this just goes to further solidify the genius of Studio the Artisan, and just shows that they know how to make a really incredible, gorgeous garment out of passion. But anyways, why don't we get right into the details of the Studio the Artisan 45th Anniversary Cherry Blossom Natural Indigo Raw Selvage Denim. Now this is made from a 15-ounce raw denim, and it does actually have a selvage ID running down the front placket that I feel complements the pink very well due to the red line selvage. And I'm a sucker for red line selvage. Red line and pink selvage are my favorite selvages, especially considering I love the way that it contrasts against any type of blue color. You will also notice that throughout the jacket, which is pretty much synonymous with Studio the Artisan's look, is they love to use this banana yellow thread as well as this kind of rust orange, if you will, and they apply this in different places to provide depth to the garment, and you would otherwise never really notice it from afar. This is more of like one of those details that goes unnoticed but adds to the sum of the look per se. And I always say that people can perceive and see and notice quality even if they can't understand it, and this is just one of those things that provides that ease of access for people to perceive that quality and the gorgeousness of this jacket. I mean, I love it, dude. And the thing with the Type 2 jacket that I really appreciate is the Type 2 has 2 chest pockets as opposed to 1 on the Type 1. And don't get me wrong, I love me a Type 1 jacket because it's a little bit shorter in the body and you also get the cinch on the back of the jacket. But the Type 2 to me just provides a little bit more of that utility aspect to it. So I think there's room for both jackets depending on what you're looking for. Now, of course, with the Type 2, you historically still had the pleats running up and down the front of the body. And there's all kinds of stories as towards why these pleats exist. Some people say it's because it allows you to cut them during the winter time so you could layer and then you can sew them back in the summertime. Some people disagree with that aspect. I honestly don't know, and I don't really care. I find that it helps provide a little bit of movement, a little bit of ease when I'm sitting down per se or anything of that sort. It also just gives a really nice detail to the front of the garment, which I love. And pleats like this fade down so nicely if you've ever seen one of those, and I can't wait to see how this garment is going to fade down with that. Now, this jacket is an unsanforized yet one-washed jacket. I do think that they had a raw version available. I unfortunately couldn't get my hands on it, but if you can find the raw version somewhere, just make sure you check the size chart because these do run small, much like most Japanese denim brands run small, and you're probably going to want to size up. I actually had to size up twice. I'm natively a 40 chest. This one I went with a 44. And the raw one, you might have to size up even more because if the raw one is unsanforized, it's gonna purposely shrink down. So just make sure that wherever you're buying from, you read the description and you take note of the size charts because you don't want to be stuck with something that ends up too small. What you will also notice, which I don't exactly know why they went this route, they did black buttonholes with black buttons. And this is interesting. You very rarely see black hardware on indigo denim. I think what this is meant to do is to kind of eventually, as this jacket fades down, to provide a little bit more depth to the garment, much like how the two-tone stitching provides a little bit more depth to it. And I think it's supposed to be something that's just slightly unexpected. I don't know, maybe there is some history behind this. I couldn't really find anything on these buttons. I tried looking for it, but who knows? It's a very interesting design choice, and I know there had to be some thought behind it because the Japanese, especially Studio the Artisan, they don't do things just mindlessly. But either way, I love the way that that looks. I mostly wear black anyways if I'm not wearing denim, and you know, that's just something that I really appreciate. And again, with the one wash, you could kind of see that there's some dye bleed at the corners as well as some puckering on the seams. And I've been wearing this jacket around pretty frequently except in the deep heat of summer, so I probably haven't been able to wear it in the latter half of July. I'm gonna start pulling it out again soon because it's getting cold in New York again. But this still is shaping up nicely and a little bit of fading, not too much, not that I expected it anyways, but you can see a little bit of that kind of shape starting to take place, which I love. You'll also see on the sleeve that they do have the rivets at the plackets. Now this is really cool because a lot of jackets either hide the rivet or they just don't apply it at all. And this is just a nod to American heritage as well as Japanese denim manufacturing. and what it really means to be a true passionate denim maker. And I love this. The only thing is you want to be careful when you have something like this on the sleeve, because you can scratch up furniture or you can scratch up things in your car depending on how you're moving. So just be careful with that. But I honestly, for a denim nerd kind of fan service that they're doing with this, I love it, dude. And it is a branded rivet, and it's also going to scratch up and fade as well over time, much like the rest of the jacket. Again, at the cuff you have the two-tone orange as well as the banana yellow, which just furthers that real depth, that real luxury look that I love and that I look for in Japanese raw denim. Going down to the hem, you have two chain stitches on the inside of the waistband that connect the torso to the waistband, and this is something that I really appreciate because a lot of brands tend to skimp out on chain stitches entirely. Most Japanese brands only chain stitch the top of the waistband where the waistband actually meets the torso, and then they'll single stitch the bottom of the waistband where nothing is really meeting. But this is chain stitched on both. Now, the reason why I really appreciate this as well is because it also provides a little bit of stretch to the waistband. So let's say if you're layering or you're sitting down, it's just a real nice, easy, comfortable feeling, and is also going to provide some real interesting fades over time due to the tension that the waistband will garner with this chain stitch. And you could already kind of see the puckering there as well. Now, moving on to the back, the only gripe that I have with the Type 2 denim jackets is that, well, at least the traditional Type 2s, is that they get rid of the back buckle, which is something that I love on Type 1s. I love that control, but what they actually substituted for on the Type 2 is side tabs at the waistband, which, I mean, sure, I like them, okay, but I really do miss the back buckle. They still have the shoulder pleats as well as the back waistband pleats that throws a lot of fabric into the back for comfort, but I really miss that back buckle. And it's not Studio the Artisan's fault. That's just how the Type 2 was made, and this is a jacket that leans pretty traditional in terms of that silhouette. Man, I really miss it though, especially considering that the back on this jacket is super plain, which again is synonymous with the Type 2 traditional kind of style, but I really would have loved some hardware back there. But either way, it's just a super clean back, a super clean, simple shoulder yoke that's pleated, and these pleats do fade nicely over time on other jackets that I've had as well. I've never had a jacket with these side tabs other than like this really old Type 3 trucker jacket that I had from Levi's way back when in high school. I don't even count that. So this is gonna be the first real time, the first real experience that I have with a jacket that has these side tabs. And you know, I'm interested to see how it's gonna go. I've seen some of these start to fray at the corners before and it looks really cool, but I don't know. Either way, you have this really clean back that showcases the beautiful color of this fabric and the elegance that this denim gives off. You're also able to see the two-tone stitching on the waistband, and overall it's just an incredible Type 2 jacket that I'm gonna cherish for the rest of my life. And I really love this thing. It just speaks to me and I love it. I really do. But anyways, moving on to the fit of the jacket. So I sized up twice because again, the jacket is very small in terms of sizing. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to the size charts. Now, the thing with the Type 2 silhouette is while it is slightly boxier than the Type 3 of the trucker jacket, it is not as boxy as the Type 1. And it's also a lot longer than the Type 1 as opposed to the cropped blouson look that the Type 1 jacket is going to give you. So just keep that in mind. If you were looking for something more cropped, maybe a Type 1 might be better for you. But if you like the Type 2, and especially if you like this fabric, I mean, this is just second to none. This is gonna be probably the only Type 2 denim jacket that I will ever need, especially because of the cultural significance that this denim jacket has, as well as just the personal meaning behind it for me. But yeah, guys, anything from Studio the Artisan, everything from Studio the Artisan that I've ever bought, I have a couple of their garments, They last so well. They're so beautifully constructed. They're geniuses when it comes to making fabric. They're geniuses when it comes to construction. And I promise you, whatever you go with in Studio the Artisan, whether it's the 45th anniversary collection or anything outside of that, you're not going to be disappointed. And I love supporting these guys because they're still trucking along after 45 years. It's freaking crazy. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I feel so much better after having been sick with COVID the last week. Dude, I don't know how I powered through those last couple of videos. It was crazy. But anyways, a lot of you guys have been requesting that I do that Indonesia denim video, and I am planning on doing that soon. The only thing is I want to do it right. I don't want to leave you guys hanging though, so just to provide you an update, I'm trying to figure out which company I want to work with because I want to show you guys some actual product and not make it like a talking essay video. I really want to show you guys things, and I also just don't want to get any of my facts wrong. So I do have some interesting things coming for that. I cannot wait to show it to you guys. But like I said, I appreciate the love and support, and I appreciate you guys keeping me on track when it comes to these types of content ideas and reminding me, hey, we want to see this video. You mentioned this a while back. We want to see it. Where is it going? Well, I definitely am still planning on doing that video. I'm working on it actively. I just want to finish up this Japanese men's fashion documentary and raw denim documentary, and then I'm going to get right on that and try to find, I have an idea of which company I want to work with, but then I'm going to try and figure out what products we want to show and how we're going to do it. But anyways, with that being said, thank you guys again, and I'll see you next week.